We'll start with a new document, file new. So unfortunately, you don't have your start document since we swapped rooms. So in the new document box here, you don't have the document you've made earlier. So let's start with a new document for print and change here in advanced options, RGB color mode. Let's make it A4 landscape. Okay. Press the F key on the Mac. It's the same on the PC. But on the Windows PC, when you have pressed the F key, you don't see any difference. But it's useful. When you're in full screen mode on your document, you may press the spacebar key on the keyboard, and then you have the little hand that grabs the document and move it anywhere you want. If you're not in... Okay, it works too. In Illustrator, I don't say one more word. Okay, so F key, I'm in full screen, it's okay. And then we'll start talking here about the appearance panel, which is one of the most important panel in Illustrator. Okay, let's check if the document may contain bright colors. You go in File menu, Document Color Mode, and it is RGB color, so it is really useful to put bright colors in that document. And if you make an illustration in RGB colors, bright colors, when you want to send it to the print man, you put the Illustrator document into InDesign, and then you go in File Export into PDF. And in PDF panel options panel, you choose Convert to CMYK. That's how it works. Converting an RGB Illustrator document into CMYK, it's best to put it into InDesign and export in PDF. And in the PDF option panel, convert to CMYK. What CMYK, the print man will tell you. It depends what kind of paper you're printing on. There's a lot of different CMYK. So, okay, that's another story. So now let's start with the drawing of one circle. Ellipse tool, with the Shift key, you may draw one circle about that size. Okay, when you select the object, the circle, you see a square. That's the handles for making the object smaller or larger. But I don't need those handles, so I go to View and I ask Hide Bounding Box. View, Hide Bounding Box. So in French it is Menu Affichage, masquer le cadre de sélection. View, Hide Bounding Box. And you may have the bounding box when you are working with the Free Transform tool, but only when you are working with the Free Transform tool. Now, when I'm moving the object with the black arrow tool, I don't see anymore this box. So I think it is better to hide the bounding box. View, Hide Bounding Box. Okay, let's save the document. And I will name it Appearance, and I put the number at the end, 01. Okay, one question here. When you save the document here, when you save the document, do you see the extension, the file extension, AI? Do you see it? No problem? Okay. Okay, so you click OK in the option panel when saving the document. Here we'll do some little things on this circle. I put a pattern in the background, and I put a color stroke on the circle. And then we'll do some things, some more things interesting. Okay, let's go in the swatches panel, window swatches. I take it by its name and make it a floatable panel. Then I'll go into the patterns here and choose some patterns. For example, nature foliage. Same as earlier, I'll go in the menu of that panel, make thumbnail large. And what's interesting with those panels, you may ask for a large list view, and then you see the names of the patterns, and it may tell a little bit more about where it comes from. Okay, so you have your circle selected, you have the background color in front of the stroke color, you choose some patterns to put into that circle. Okay, I'll choose that one. You'll see some patterns are transparent and some others not. How do you see that the pattern is transparent? You only see that if you ask for view, show transparency grid. Okay, now I know it is not white, it is transparent. Okay, choose any pattern you want. Don't bother increasing its size, it's okay. Okay, the checkered box, the checkered background here showing the transparency is awful. I will go to File, Document Setup and change it. You don't have to do that if you don't want. File, Document Setup. Okay. Okay, so the background showing the transparency is a little bit, is a little more acceptable. I will change the way the vectors are displayed in this document. Now they are displayed in blue, and I think it will be better if I choose another color. So I will go in the Layers panel, Window Layers, and in the Layers panel I will double click on the layer and choose another color here, maybe red, light red. Okay, maybe it's a little bit easier to see, or maybe magenta. Okay. Since I'm in the Layers panel, I will go into the panel options and change the size of the thumbnails. Okay. But you don't have to do it. It works even if you have a small thumbnails. Okay, then I will put a stroke. There is already a stroke on this shape, so I put the stroke swatch in front of the background swatch in the toolbar, and then I'll choose the color of the stroke, and then I increase that color with the stroke panel, window stroke. In French, it is fenêtre contour. Okay, I increase the stroke. Okay, you choose if you want the stroke outside of the shape or inside of the shape. I would prefer you put it outside. It's better, because once we will have all set up and we will transform everything into a style, and we will apply the style to other objects, not circles, objects of many shapes. And if you want the shape to appear well, you have to put the stroke either inside of the shape or outside, but outside it is better. Okay, good. Let's make another circle. I'll make another circle about that same size, but why not duplicate that circle by moving it while pushing the Alt key on the keyboard. So with the black arrow and the Alt key, I move the circle on the right. Okay, it's outside of the A4 format. It is not relevant. That's not a problem. You may work and make drawings outside of the initial frame. You may change the size of the initial frame with the artboard tool. Click on the artboard tool, and with the handles you make the artboard a little bit wider. To get rid of those handles, you just switch tools. You change the tool in the toolbar, and you're no longer in artboard edit mode. I'm working on the right circle, and I'll change the background. I'll switch to another pattern. Oh, it is on the outside. It is technically possible to put a pattern on a stroke, as you see. Okay, that's nice, no problem. I'll change now the background, and I'll choose maybe a plain color, no problem. Okay. I'll make a new color with the new swatch in the swatches menu, the new swatch option. You know how it works when you make colors in the Adobe softwares? First you choose RGB, unless you have a really good reason not to do so. And then when you have a color, if you want to change the lightness of the color, you hit the Shift key and move one of the cursor, and it is the same color, and you change brightness. Don't care about this, it's no longer relevant. It is web safe colors. We don't use them anymore unless you're making websites for third countries, third world countries, okay? Slow computers, but web safe colors, we don't use them anymore. Okay, so with the Shift key, change the color. That's the way it works. Okay. We'll make two graphic style with it, with those two shapes. So you go into Window, Graphic Styles. In French it is Fenêtre Style Graphique. So Window, Graphic Styles. So here you have the Graphic Styles panel of the document. So if you make changes in that graphic style panel and open another document, you will not find the changes you made in the other document. That's why I say it is the graphic styles panel of that document we are working on right now. And we'll select one of the circles and click in the graphic styles panel onto the paper here, and the style is saved. Same for the other circle. You click and the style is saved. Then you will be able to make other shapes in that document and apply to them the styles we just saved. So test it with maybe a star. So I'll go in the toolbar and I use the star tool, draw a star about the size of the other object. Don't draw a large style, you know, I explained it earlier. Okay, that's a star, and you may apply one or the other style to that star. Another star, maybe smaller, 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 okay. Okay. Maybe I'll hide the transparency grid now. Is it okay? It's working? That's quite simple, but don't bother, it will become quite complicated in some minutes, so you will enjoy it a lot, I hope. I'll put the right circle onto the other one. Smart guides are enabled, so I see those pink lines that permits to put both circles quite at the same place. Or you may also select both circles with the white arrow, make a selection rectangle by clicking and dragging. Both are selected, and you go in Window, Align. Window Align, I think in the French version it is Fenêtre Alignement. And then with both circles selected, you may align them horizontally and then vertically, and they are on top of each other. Okay? So both way to do it is okay. You've put both circles on top of each other. We'll put that object underneath the other, and it's not working. Yes, okay. I'll put that one on top of the other one. Okay, good. Okay, it's not working because the thumbnails are too large, but with smaller thumbnails, it's okay. Okay, so that way. That's what I want. The circle that was on the right is now underneath the other one. I save the document. Save the document, it's a good thing to do. Okay, click on the side of those objects. None of them are selected anymore. And I'll select the circle that is underneath this one. I select it with the Layers panel. How do I select it? Certainly not that way. The Photoshop way is not working. The object is not selected. That's not the way you select objects in Illustrator. You have to use this little circle here, the target. You click on the target, and then the object, the circle, which is behind the other one, is now selected. Then I will increase its size with the free transform tool. I grab one corner handle, and with Alt and Shift keys, I click and drag. Okay, that's what I want. A larger circle, still in the center, still aligned with the other one. So it is Shift and Alt keys, and click drag the corner handle with the free transform tool, and save the document. We will do a style that will include both backgrounds and both strokes. And we'll use the appearance panel, which in fact is a sort of a style factory. You make styles in the appearance panel, and then when it's done, you put them in the graphic styles panel. Good. I'll move both circles, so I select them both, either by click drag with the black arrow and making a selection rectangle on one part of those objects. They are both selected. I can put them there. Or if you want, select them with the Layers panel. You click on the target of one of the objects, and with Shift you click on the target of the other one. They are both selected. You see that I have a path that is selected here, it is not selected. His thumbnail here is showing in blue, but it is not selected. Selection in Illustrator through the layers panel is made with the targets only. Okay, that's the way you will be able to move the objects on the left. And now on the right, I will, on another object, I will create my style, which will include 2 backgrounds and 2 strokes. So, let's draw a circle here on the right. Okay, so I put it here, and with the Shift and Alt key, I draw the circle. Good. Let's apply to that circle one or the other style you choose. Okay, let's start with the style from the inner circle. It's better. The smaller one. Okay. Maybe I'll reduce here the size of that circle to mimic the way it is on the left. Okay. Is it okay for you? Okay, so now we go into the appearance panel, which appeared, by the way, in CS4. It was a revolution in Illustrator. So the appearance panel is here. Okay. Window appearance. In French, it is fenêtre aspect. Okay, what do you see here? You have one fill for that object which is selected, one fill with the pattern, and one stroke with the plain color, in my case. If you want to see the stroke options, you may go to Window Stroke or click on this hyperlink, and you have the stroke options that appear here. Okay, what's inside? It's the opacity. If you change the opacity, and if there are other objects behind this one, you will be able to make the background transparent or the stroke transparent. It is the transparency panel. Okay, don't change now. And then I add a second fill to that object. So now we only have one object, and we put a second background by going through the menu here, add new fill. This is the second fill, same as the first one, so you don't see any difference on the object. But now you will choose the background you've put on the larger circle on the left. Don't use anymore the graphic style panel. You may close it. We don't use it anymore. Don't make that mistake. You will choose for that second fill, the one which is on the top of the other. You will choose to put the same color. That's where is it? Okay, where is it? Good question. I'll select the other circle with the black arrow, and you see it is framed. The color of the background is framed in the swatch panel. So now I go back in the right circle, knowing that it is that color that I need. Okay, you have the same thing that I have here. The object is selected, the circle on the right, and you are working specifically on that fill. Okay, I choose that background color. Of course, that background color is now opaque, and it doesn't permit to the other background to be seen. Of course, you may change its opacity, and then you'll see the other background behind. But we will not do that, but you may test it. You open the fill options and click on opacity, the opacity hyperlink, and you change the opacity. Or you leave the opacity at 100, and you may change the blending mode with the arrow just on the name normal. You use the wheel on the mouse to go through each of the color mode. So technically it is possible to mix both backgrounds, but we will not do it here now. So leave it at normal 100%, and we'll put another stroke now on that object. So remember, compared to what we have on the left, now we only have one object, and we are making a graphic style with multiple backgrounds and multiple strokes, and it will be applied to any other object later. Okay, so with the object selected, you add now a new stroke, add new stroke, and that new stroke will use the same pattern as I used on the other project. In fact, it is a project of a style. So that was this one, yes. So 2 strokes and 2 fills, and of course that new stroke is on top of the blue one on my example, and you don't see the blue one anymore. And you may also change the opacity of that new stroke, the blending mode, so you see both are mixing. That's quite interesting. Or leave the leave the blending mode to normal and move the opacity cursor, or do both. Both can be done, both blending mode and opacity setting. Okay, now I leave it to normal blending mode and I put it back to 100% opacity. But that's just to make you understand that it is possible to do it. Blend both strokes together. Save your document. We will expand the fill of the larger circle. So you select the object on the right, and specifically you're working on that fill. And we will put a special effect on that fill. You go into the effect menu in path, offset path. So in French it is effet, tracé, décalage. Of effect path, offset path. If you have an object selected in the illustration, you have the preview button available. You click to preview and you change the value here. I'll put 40 and I'll hit the tab key on the keyboard, and you see that the background expands. It expands too much. I will put 20, tab key. Okay, it looks good. You don't have to do exactly the same as on the left, but it is an example to follow. Okay, then you have an offset path effect on that object and specifically on the fill of that color. And how do you see it? In the appearance panel, but you may see it in here. You unfold the options for the fill, and you see that you have the offset path effects, and you may disable it if you want, so you see behind what's happening. Good. You have a problem. What happened is that when you have put the offset path effect on the object, you had none of the fill or stroke selected, so it has put the effect on all of the object, like that. Effect path, offset path, 20, tab, okay. So all of the object is expanded with the offset path special effects. So what you may do here is either trash that effect and select the fill and put once again the effect, or you may move the effect specifically to that fill. Okay, it is inside, so the offset path effects only works on that fill, not the blue stroke, not that stroke, not that fill, only the field with this little brick-like color. You'll have to do the same for the stroke. That stroke, you'll have to select that stroke while the object is selected. You select specifically that stroke and you put the same effect on it, but you don't have to go through the menu. You may move the effect that is already there and move it onto the stroke here. Okay, you see what's happening? The effect is now on the stroke and no longer on the fill. So I move it back on the fill, and now it is on the fill and no longer on the stroke. Of course, you know that if you want to copy something in Adobe softwares, you have to use the Alt key. So I use the Alt key and I move the offset path effect from the fill to the stroke, and I have a copy of the effect. Okay? It is not linked. It is not the same effect. In fact, you may put different values if you want. On the stroke here, I could put 30 millimeters. And the stroke is much on the outside. So I'll put back 20. It was just to prove that those two offset path effects are independent. Okay, good. Once you've done that, you put the solid color fill underneath the pattern fill. You move it. And you will do the same for the stroke. No need to do it. Okay. It works. So, you have on the right the same graphic as on the left, but the difference is that on the right there is only one circle, and on the left there are two circles. I can move them. On the right, only one circle. So, if I make now a graphic style with it, I will be able to put at once, with just one click, two backgrounds and two strokes on any object. That's what we'll do. Let's go in the graphic style panel, window graphic style, and with that object on the right selected, you will click on the paper here and it creates a graphic style with two backgrounds and two strokes. By the way, it could be 10 backgrounds, 10 strokes, 20, as many as you want, but be aware that the most backgrounds and strokes you put, the most your computer must be really powerful with a powerful graphic card. It needs a lot of resources. Okay, so now we'll try on the star shape on the right there. So I'll take the star tool and I draw. Okay, here you have the star selected. You may choose to put the first graphic style we've made, the second one, or the later one, and you see that it works. No problem. If I want to put it on a small star, I'll use the star tool and draw a small star and choose to put that special effect. Okay. So, any size of star, when you put the effect, you have the same look here, the same weight of stroke, the same distance from the object for the second stroke. Okay, you see? Maybe it's not what you want, but we'll see that we can make variants of the first graphic style. So, you make a star here about the size of the A4 format, you see. The star on the right, there. It is the size of the A4 format, more or less. And you put the graphic style on it. Okay. And then we will resize the star, and we will ask Illustrator to resize the weight of the strokes too. And okay, we do it. You go in the preferences panel of Illustrator, general, and there you have scale strokes and effects. It is unchecked, and you check it, scale strokes and effects. And then when you will resize the star, the weight of the strokes will decrease. Let's try it. With the free transform tool, I grab the corner handle, and with the Alt key and Shift key, I decrease the size of that star. And here it is. You see that both the weight of both strokes have been modified, and also the special effects that I've put earlier on that stroke is no longer at 20 millimeters, it is at 3.4. The fill here is also 3.4. Okay, so in fact you must choose what suits you well here. With the free transform tool, I will increase a little bit that star. Okay, good. Okay, you understand? Now, with that object selected, you will click on the paper here in the graphic styles palette of the document, and you have a second graphic style. And regarding of the size of the object, you may use one or the other, the first one or the second one. You choose. Maybe the first one will be okay for large objects, and the second one for smaller objects. So from here, there are several things that can be done. So I show you, just watch. With the black arrow tool, I click just beside the object. No object is selected. I will make a copy of that style by bringing it to the paper here in the graphic styles palette. I will use that copy on one object here. And in the appearance panel, I will make the background color here different. Okay, orange. And the color here of the stroke red. Okay. So I could change also the patterns on both fill, but I will not do it here. And you may create another style here. So you have. Okay, so sorry, but the copy is not really necessary. So I have two styles identical here, and I have a third one. Okay, we'll try to use it on text. You grab the text tool, and then you click. Don't click and drag like that. It's not good. You're making a text box. For paragraphs, I don't want it. I Ctrl Z. I just click with the text tool because I want to make just a little word, a title. Then you will increase the size of that text, of course. With the free transform tool, you grab the corner handle, and with the Shift key, you increase the size. Okay, good. And then we'll put the graphic style onto it. This is it. The first graphic style, not very good. the letters are too small. That first graphic style that was good for large shapes is not good for small shapes like those letters. So maybe the second one is nice. Third one is the same as the second one. So I put it in the trash. Okay. And this text is modifiable. I could use the text tool and change the name here. Okay, it works. Okay, save the document. Okay, let's see if you want to use those styles in another document. Okay, I'll show you. You make another document. Don't close the first one. Just make another document. Now you have the tabs here to go from one to the other. Okay, it's a CMYK document. I'll try to go in File, Document Color Mode, RGB. Okay, it's an RGB. Okay, so in that second document, the styles you just made are not there. One way to put them there is to transfer them by using an object as a carrier. So I select one object here, I copy, Ctrl-C. You could just click on the paper here and the graphic style is included in the graphic styles panel, and if you use any tool you may apply that style. Okay, that's one way to do it. That's not the best way anyway. So this is what you will do. You go in the graphic styles panel of your document and you go in the menu and you go to Save Graphic Styles Library. Save Graphic Style Library to the desktop. In the other document, open Graphic Styles Library, open Library, and then it is there. And then I open it, and I have a panel with my styles. That panel is not modifiable, but when I use the styles on any object, it is included into the graphic styles panel of that document. So that's the way to transfer graphic styles from one document to the other.